2021 has brought us a decent amount of average movies. And I think this ranges, like the movies we've gotten have ranged between super bad and bottom of the barrel to okay, to mediocre. I do think there are exceptions to this, though. And we're going to actually talk about one of them today. And we're going to talk about this exception because I truly, truly believe that this movie deserves every single award that it'll undoubtedly and very sadly probably never receive, just because of the nature of the type of movie it is. And this movie is Greenland. Now, Greenland was released on Amazon Prime, Vudu, Apple TV, and the different rental and purchase services online, I believe, summer of last year, which is crazy to say because I could have sworn that this came out at the beginning of this year, but no, it's been out for quite a while now. I only recently watched it about 2 months ago. You know, watching this movie was one of the great bright hopes of this year. Now, I'm going to speak about this as if it came out this year because I'll be honest with you, I thought it did, and I feel like a lot of people probably got around to it this year as well. And I have so many good things to say about this movie. What a pleasant surprise. What an absolute shocker for me. I genuinely walked into this movie expecting an incredibly average end-of-the-world apocalyptic movie. And by the insinuation of all the reviews, it got pretty good reviews, critically speaking. But if you read into any of them, they all implied the same thing. That it was pretty average, it was okay, it was kind of slow going. It was so good for so many reasons. Let's talk about some of them. On the first note of writing. This movie was just beautifully grounded, which is a strange rarity in today's world. And I know that might sound controversial or, weirdly unmatching for an apocalyptic movie about asteroids hitting the Earth. But it is. And especially with coronavirus happening last year, it's not hard to imagine how this movie is actually pretty relatable and realistic. Director Rick Roman, I don't know how to pronounce that name, did such a beautiful job with keeping this so grounded that nothing in this movie, and I mean almost absolutely nothing, pulled me out and made me think that's not what happened. And that's shocking to say. If you know me, the way my friends do, the way my wife does, that's very surprising. I mean, there's so many situations that could have gone south, but they kept so genuine and so real that I couldn't disagree with any of it. So just to talk about a couple of them, the beginning of the movie starts out with where Gerard Butler's character, and I don't remember his name, but you have his little boy and then his ex-wife, I believe it's his ex, they're not together, and they're notified at this point that they have been chosen to meet at this shelter, because these asteroids are falling. And one of the first things that struck me as very believable in this movie was them leaving because they're with their friends in the home when they get this notification. And all the friends are saying, I didn't get the notification. And the reaction was so raw to it. Painfully so. Because as they're driving away, because they pack up, they have to leave immediately. Asteroids are starting to come down. They have to leave immediately. And these neighbors, these friends of theirs that you can tell are very close friends, are like slamming up against the car. They're screaming and crying. One of them I believe it's the mother who's holding up her child, pressing her against the car as they're trying to drive away, crying and begging for this family to take their daughter with them, but they can't. And it was such a raw moment. I wouldn't overplay it as like something so drastic, but that was so beautiful about it. It was that it felt absolutely real. In today's world, I have no doubt that would happen. Additionally, there are so many things along the way that I'm like, yeah, in today's world, I believe it. Maybe not 10 years ago, but today I do. In the scene where Gerard Butler and his family are trying to get into the plane, and then all the people protesting outside who weren't accepted to be able to make it there, to be able to hop on these planes and fly to Greenland, they're protesting and they break through. And these idiots, these fools, they just break past everything. And this massive mob of people that you can see in the trailer, they just destroy everything. They start shooting people down, start mowing them down with guns, with rifles. And through a crazy chain of events, they actually end up blowing up one of the airplanes. And they literally ruin it for everybody, which is a beautiful representation of how people are these days. Specifically a very certain group of people. It felt like something that would so genuinely and sincerely happen. It almost enraged me at the idea of how realistic the situation was. Okay, and then lastly, the decisions the characters made. This ties into writing as well. The decisions they made were so smart. And it wasn't like you had to be a genius. They were just normal people, right? So if the world was ending and things were happening that was happening in that movie, they're things that I would do, that you would probably do, that anyone with half a brain would. But because a lot of these writers think that they have to create a plot out of people's stupid decisions, they don't usually make these decisions. The acting was perfect. I can't think of anything they could have improved on the acting front. Gerard Butler, you wouldn't think of him as a character you could grow, attached to or felt connected with, and you do. Even down to like the little boy, the little child. His name is Roger Dale Floyd. He did so good. I think one of my biggest pet peeves in movies is when the child won't just shut up or just won't use their brain. I remember when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and yeah, I was a kid, but under these circumstances, I'd know what to do. I think a good example of what might have bothered me is in World War Z, when the little girls in the back, I think they're driving away from this flood of zombies, and the little girls in the back going, "I want my blanket!" And you're like, "I'll just strangle you."
I want my blanket! Baby, it's packed right now. Snuggle with Subway Sam, okay?
It drives me crazy, because I'm like, even when I was that young, I'd be ashamed to have kids like that. I'd be ashamed to be that child myself when I was that young. And this little kid, he just really makes you like him, because every decision, this kid goes through so much crap in this movie. Kid freaking gets kidnapped. And he's so chill, but not in like an unbelievable way. He just isn't a brat. And the last thing I want to talk about is the budget. And this is an interesting topic of discussion, because the budget of this movie was pretty limited. It is said to be about $35 million, which is a very low budget movie, especially for end of the world apocalyptic movie with Gerard Butler. And it was usually average on closer to $200 million. And this movie does beautifully with the budget it's given. And the budget that they did use for CGI, I think, in my opinion, was wonderfully done. As a matter of fact, there's one shot in the movie, and this isn't a spoiler because you see it in the trailer. You don't get the full shot of it, though, so you don't get the understanding. But there's a shot in the movie where you're watching a broadcast of the first meteor hitting Florida. And I'm from Florida, so I'm like, oh, okay. And you see this overhead drone shot of the news report of the explosion hitting and wiping out a whole city. And in any apocalyptic movie, it's like, oh, cool, it's a big freaking explosion. What else can we see go down? What other monuments? And in this case, I felt like a dent in my heart. It was like, oh, like somehow the way they made this movie, it like slapped me when that happened. I'm like me and my wife were sitting there watching a movie, and we both, when it shows that shot, just, and my wife and I, we just go, oh, like, whoa. It feels impactful because it's not in excess. It feels real. It feels sincere. The music was beautiful. I loved the music. The ending moment of the movie, I always believe you got to go out on a strong note. You always got to punch some emotional hit into it, and they did it all. They did everything. But there was one thing I didn't like about the movie. There's one thing that I strongly disliked about it, and it was that this movie didn't have the chance to come out in theaters. Honestly, such a scam. It's such a disappointment. I would have loved to see this in theaters. This would have been a fantastic movie to watch on the big screen. I think a lot of people missed out on a wonderful opportunity by this just going straight to streaming and not having the opportunity to show in theaters as well as streaming. So to sit down and give this a rating between 1 and 10, I would have no hesitancy in giving this a solid 9 out of 10. If I had to keep it from that 10-pointer for any reason, by nitpicking, I'd have to say maybe it's just because it's not the most memorable movie. It's not the most riveting, exciting. This is no Avengers Endgame, meaning that you're not going to be telling your kids about it in 10, 15 years, despite the fact that maybe it kind of deserves that. In addition to that, it deserves every reward, every movie and every art award that it'll undoubtedly never receive just because of the nature of its movie. Overall, there's nothing I can say about this movie that would cause me not to recommend it to you. If you haven't seen it, please go support it. Please go rent it for $6 on Amazon or wherever you like to watch movies and see it. Purchase it in store. If you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in general overall. But that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Share your thoughts in the comments. Later, guys.